Greetings and welcome to the Sleepy Science Facts channel. We're studying the intriguing idea of mind over matter tonight, not as a proverb, but as one of the most astounding areas of contemporary science. It tells the tale of how thoughts, expectations, and attention can permeate the body deeply and affect perception, performance, pain, healing, and even the experience of reality itself. Brain scans, immune markers, and nerve signals are now measuring what was once written off as imagination, revealing effects that cast doubt on our understanding of how the human system actually functions. Researchers in the fields of neuroscience, psychology, and medicine consistently encounter the same disturbing reality. The line separating the mind from the body is much thinner than we previously believed. Biology is not replaced by these discoveries. They broaden it, which leads to inquiries that go beyond the realm of what science can adequately explain. Please feel free to like, subscribe, or leave a comment below if you find these gentle journeys enjoyable. It also makes it easier for others to find their way here, one drowsy person at a time. Right now, though, all you can do is unwind. Allow your body to relax. Breathe slowly. Let your eyes become heavy. And as we explore this fascinating world, allow your mind to relax. Now, let's get started. What you see can be drastically altered by your expectations. Your senses are primed by what you anticipate before the world even shows up. When you put the same wine in 2 bottles, people say the pricey label has richer flavors. One well-known study found that adding color to a drink altered its perceived sweetness without altering the recipe. By fusing incoming signals with memories and pre-existing beliefs, your brain creates perception. Strong guesses have the potential to override the data, creating misrepresentations and illusions. That's why it takes someone pointing out a sound for you to notice it. This is also the reason why a typical heartbeat can sound like a siren when someone is anxious. This process, which scientists refer to as predictive processing, allows the mind to actively edit reality. Expectations are trainable, which is exciting. Thus, over the course of a lifetime, perception can change with practice. Your world may seem more detailed when you alter your expectations, which also affects what you observe. Hormone release, breathing, and heart rate can all be altered by a fake medication. A person's pulse may increase if you give them a medication they think is a stimulant. Pesame personas. Breathing may slow if they take a medication they believe to be a seditious one. Even saline injections have changed blood pressure in experiments when presented as potent drugs. The way your mouth waters before a familiar meal is an example of how conditioning contributes to this. Your body may begin preparing early if it has learned that clinics equate to treatment. That preparation has the power to change hormones, flush the skin, and tighten the muscles in the stomach. Because context is a component of the dose, researchers refer to this as the meaning response. Price tags, white coats, and even pill color can influence the response. It serves as a reminder that the nervous system is constantly on the lookout for warning signs. The body may go into repair mode before chemistry shows up, when those signals indicate that help is on the way. The brain's actual opioid signals can be triggered by the placebo effect. People who are given a sugar pill still report feeling better in a matter of minutes in certain pain studies. The same reward and pain circuits light up in brain imaging as they do with actual drugs. Loxin, a medication that blocks opioid receptors, has even been used by researchers to prevent this relief. This indicates that the body can command the release of its own morphine-like chemicals. Expectation turns into a signal that travels to the brainstem control centers from the thinking cortex. Before incoming pain signals reach conscious awareness, those centers have the ability to muffle them. It isn't a phony form of relief. It is a change in neurochemistry. Researchers now examine how this internal pharmacy is enhanced by ritual, trust, and timing. When someone feels taken care of, secure, and confident in the plan, the impact is greatest. This is where mind over matter starts, with belief transforming into measurable biology. A new question in medicine has been prompted by that discovery: which aspects of healing originate internally? Even seemingly innocuous treatments can have serious negative effects. Symptoms can be planted as a warning, particularly if you anticipate your body being delicate. Even with inert pills, participants in trials who are informed that a treatment may cause headaches frequently report experiencing them. Threat networks are shown to be activating in brain scans, readying you to perceive discomfort and perceive it as danger, like a harmless tingle turning into a stabbing alarm. That hyperattention magnifies everyday sensations. Stress hormones can cause the body to tighten, which lowers blood flow and exacerbates pain. Since language is also a form of medicine, doctors now carefully consider the words they use. Fear-laden language can backfire, but plain honesty is still important. In order to make the brain anticipate support rather than doom, some clinics combine side effect discussions with coping strategies. The same information produces fewer symptoms when people feel stable and informed. This darker placebo mirror demonstrates that mind over matter is more than just a gift. When the lever is pulled incorrectly, it can cause pain. Like a volume knob, the brain can adjust the intensity of pain. Pain is more than just a tissue signal. The brain makes the choice. The degree of suffering experienced by two individuals with the same injury can vary greatly. A network located deep within the brainstem has the ability to reject pain signals before they are perceived. Contexts such as safety, fear, attention, and social support influence how that system reacts. In combat, soldiers may report minimal pain, but after danger is past, they may experience severe pain. The brain can delay suffering in order to keep you moving because it prioritizes survival. Afterwards, the volume increases to promote protection and rest while the body heals. This built-in dial is used in therapies such as graded movement, reassurance, and distraction. Knowing this does not imply that suffering is unreal. It implies that the brain is the amplifier that determines each sensation's gain. Learning what makes a difference gives you a new level of control both during and after an actual injury. Even in the absence of an infection, stress-related thoughts can increase inflammation. Your immune system can go into overdrive when you're thinking about a stressful story. Increases in inflammatory markers following tests, arguments, and restless nights have been observed by Although inflammation can help fight off infections, it can also cause joint pain and depressive symptoms. Through nerve signals and hormones like cortisol, the brain communicates with immunity. These signals can become disorganized and occasionally cause the body to overreact when the threat feels constant. Chronic stress is associated with slower wound healing for this reason. In certain studies, it can also reduce vaccine responses as if defenses are missed. The positive twist is that information can be calmed by social interaction, rest, and safety signals. Even short relaxation exercises have been associated with reduced infirmary activity, particularly when performed regularly over several weeks rather than just once. Here, mind over matter manifests as chemistry, where a more composed mind can assist the body in standing back up. Within a minute, focused breathing can change the vagus nerve. One of the few bodily systems you can directly control is your breath. Sensors in the lungs tell the brain to lower arousal when you exhale for a longer period of time. The vagus nerve, a roving cable that connects the brain, heart, and stomach, carries this change. The heart may slow and heart rate variability may rise as parasympathetic activity increases. Similar to a suspension system that absorbs bumps, that pattern is frequently linked to resilience. Breath control is the first step in the different training methods used by singers, divers, and meditators. Over time, paced breathing in labs can lower blood pressure in certain individuals. By providing the brain with a consistent rhythm to follow, it can also break panic spirals. For many people, nerves react in a single breath cycle, which makes its speed surprising. As a result, the body now almost instantly responds to each slow exhale as a signal that it is safe enough. Brain areas related to emotion and attention can become thicker after meditation. Although the brain views meditation as training, it is frequently referred to as rest. Long-term practitioners have thicker cortex in areas related to self-control and attention. According to scans, additional research reveals alterations in networks that regulate emotions, facilitating a quicker recovery from stress. Neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to change with repeated use, is reflected in these changes. In certain experiments, even 8 weeks of structured practice has been associated with quantifiable improvements. It's not magic that's changed. They are similar to building up a muscle you don't often use. Individuals claim to be aware of their thoughts without being pulled around by them. Relationships, sleep, and decision-making can all benefit from that pause between impulse and action. Researchers are currently mapping the styles that are most effective for various types of minds, from loving kindness to concentrated attention, and for varying ages. What started out as a spiritual practice is now being used as a lab tool to change the circuitry of the mind in ways that can be tracked. Not only can hypnosis change belief or mood, but it can also change pain networks. Even when the skin's stimulus remains unchanged, hypnosis can alter how pain is processed. Hypnotized individuals may characterize pain as remote, uninteresting, or just irrelevant. Activity shifts in regions that deal with meaning and attention, not just sensation, in imaging studies. That means the brain can change what it chooses to emphasize by renaming the experience. It has been used as support by dentists and surgeons, particularly when anxiety exacerbates pain. It is not mind control, and not everyone is equally susceptible to hypnosis. It functions best when the listener cooperates and follows instructions, much like in a guided simulation. Some researchers liken it to suppressing opposing ideas in order for one to take center stage. The brain may activate its own relaxing circuits in that concentrated state, akin to deep absorption in a scene from a film. The larger lesson is that our daily stories shape our pain, and that attention is a potent form of medicine. Your body frequently responds to perceived threats as though they were actual. Your body uses the same set of tools to respond to perceived danger as it does to actual danger. Your hands might start to perspire before you even get up during a job interview. Your heart may race when you watch a scary movie, making you want to run. Sometimes the brain's threat detector is unable to distinguish between the present, a memory, and a prediction. As a result, it increases attention towards escape, releases adrenaline, and changes blood flow to muscles. Although that reaction may save your life, it may also keep you in a state of constant stress. Because their bodies are constantly getting ready for emergencies, people who suffer from anxiety frequently feel worn out. By using the imagination in reverse, therapies like exposure and imagery rehearsal teach safety. The alarm goes off and the body relaxes once the brain determines that a feared situation can be survived. This loop is mind over matter. Physiology is shaped by thoughts, and thoughts in turn are fueled by physiology. Before you realize it, erasing thoughts can cause muscles to tighten. Frequently, the body responds before the mind completes a sentence. In a matter of milliseconds, the jaw, shoulders, stomach, and hands can all tighten in response to a sudden thought of danger, pressure, or urgency. The brain interprets dangerous thoughts as early warning signals, which is why this occurs. Even when no action is necessary, motor pathways receive the message and prime the body for action, unaware of it until they experience pain or exhaustion. Many people live with this low-level bracing all day. Tension can eventually become the nervous system's default state. The feedback loop is what makes this intriguing. The brain receives danger signals from pipe muscles, which maintains the sense of urgency. The brain frequently softens, as the body does. Early detection of tension can break this cycle before it worsens. Intense awareness turns into leverage, preventing the body and mind from intensifying one another. Exhaling slowly can reduce sensitivity to carbon dioxide and soothe anxiety. Although the true cause of panic is typically carbon dioxide, it frequently feels like a lack of oxygen. Carbon dioxide levels are used by the brain to determine how urgently you need to breathe. Even minor changes can cause alarm. When anxiety increases this sensitivity, faster breathing may seem beneficial, but it reduces carbon dioxide too quickly, which exacerbates fear by causing tingling and vertigo. Exhaling slowly and steadily has a different effect. It reassures the brainstem that there is no threat to the body and stabilizes breathing rhythm. The alarm system becomes less reactive with repeated use. Once threatening sensations start to feel bearable, calm is not being forced. Teaching the nervous system that typical body signals are safe is the goal. Breath by breath, that learning takes place. What's amazing is how fast the initial shift can happen. The body's message to the brain can be altered with a single, long exhale. And the brain responds. You can learn to intentionally warm a fingertip with boofy feedback. Invisible processes become visible with buff feedback. A tiny sensor in thermal buff feedback gauges the temperature of the fingertip, reflecting blood flow close to the skin. Stress causes tiny blood vessels to constrict, which frequently causes the fingers to cool unconsciously. People can learn which thoughts and sensations cause the temperature to rise or fall when they monitor it in real time. Many people can consciously increase warmth by shifting their focus and relaxing their muscles. With practice, the nervous system's arousal was decreased by those warmth cues. Since this approach trains regulation rather than distraction, it has been investigated for circulation problems and stress-related pain. What seems like fantasy turns into quantifiable transformation. Instead of relying solely on guesswork, the true power lies in learning control through feedback. The sensor is no longer required once the skill is mastered. The body retains the root. This demonstrates that some procedures classified as automatic can be trained. The mind can learn to direct systems it was never taught it could affect with the correct mirror. By practicing movement without moving, athletes increase their strength. Many of the same brain regions involved in physical movement are activated during mental rehearsal. Athletes' brains practice timing, coordination, and sequencing without using their muscles when they visualize a lift or sprint. The neural blueprint that directs movement is strengthened as a result. Studies have demonstrated quantifiable strength increases from imagery alone, particularly when combined with actual training. When physical practice is restricted, it also aids in maintaining skill during an injury. The advantage stems not from muscle growth per se, but from improved brain-muscle communication. This helps top performers make fewer mistakes when under pressure. When the movement does occur, it feels almost practiced beforehand. This shows that muscle fibers are not the only factor in strength. Additionally, it concerns how effectively and confidently the nervous system recruits them. The signal is sharpened by mental training. The body frequently follows with unexpected accuracy when the signal gets better. The brain can hurt without causing tissue damage, as demonstrated by phantom limb pain. Many people continue to experience sensations in the limb that was amputated. Despite having no physical cause, fingers may burn, clench, or itch. This occurs as a result of the brain's body map, which is not updated instantly. This old map can be activated by signals from surrounding areas, producing vivid sensations. Sometimes the discrepancy between feedback and intention causes pain. This phenomenon shows that tissue does not directly report pain. The brain has constructed this interpretation. Pain science was changed by that realization. It clarifies why suffering is not always predicted by damage and how pain can linger long after healing. Because the brain perceives phantom pain as real, it feels real. The hopeful implication is that the brain may be guided to release pain by updating its internal map if it can produce it without harm. Knowing this altered the way medical professionals treat chronic pain. By deceiving visual circuits, mirror therapy can reduce phantom pain. Mirror therapy modifies the body map of the brain by using vision. Where the missing limb would be, a mirror is positioned so that the intact limb's reflection shows. The brain perceives both limbs moving in unison when the person moves the actual limb. Phantom pain can be lessened by this visual feedback, particularly if the missing limb feels confined or stuck. The brain anticipates that sensory confirmation will correspond with movement commands. The alarm might go away when that confirmation shows up, even through reflection. This straightforward setup demonstrated the potency of vision in influencing physical experience. It served as inspiration for contemporary virtual reality treatments that produce user-controlled digital limbs. With consistency rather than force, these methods seek to alter the brain's expectations and lessen pain. The more profound lesson is that coherence is essential to brain function. Suffering frequently lessens when sight, intention, and sensation are in harmony. Over time, prolonged stress can cause certain areas of the hippocampus to shrink. The hippocampus is essential for controlling emotions and memory. Long-term stress exposes the brain to frequent spikes in the hormone cortisol, which is designed for short-term survival. Constant exposure can disrupt neural connections and cell growth in vulnerable areas. Chronic stress causes fewer new neurons and less branching in animals. According to studies, long-term stress has been linked in human studies to variations in hippocampal volume and memory function. These alterations contribute to the explanation of why stress can impair memory formation and cause foggy thinking. Plasticity is the encouraging aspect. When stress subsides, the brain can adjust once more. Improved cognitive function is linked to supportive environments, therapy, exercise, and sleep. Because of this, stress is no longer merely an emotional state, but rather a biological force. It also demonstrates why stress management is important for both comfort and preserving the brain's capacity for learning and memory. Pain reactions can be lessened and cortisol levels lowered by gentle social touch. The nervous system may receive a signal of safety from supportive touch. People who receive comforting contact frequently exhibit lower cortisol levels and lower pain ratings in stress and pain studies. Consent and trust are necessary for the effect. Threat circuits in the brain can be calmed and muscle guarding relaxed when touch feels secure. Slow, comforting touch triggers specialized nerve fibers in the skin that link to emotional processing centers. This could be the reason why some types of touch are so calming. Simple histories such as holding hands during procedures have been linked to improved tolerance and less distress in medical settings. Although touch can alter how the body perceives pain, it cannot completely eliminate it. Human connection is not abstract. As this illustrates, it is a physiological signal that can change perception, posture, and chemistry. When the body senses that it is not alone, it pays close attention. Laughter temporarily increases pain tolerance by releasing endorphins. The whole body changes when you laugh. Breathing takes on a rhythm. Stress hormones may decrease as the facial muscles relax. Endorphins, which are chemicals involved in bonding and pain relief, are released when people laugh together. According to research, in certain studies, participants' tolerance for discomfort increases after sharing a laugh. Additionally, focus is diverted from keeping an eye on the body for danger. The intensity of sensations can be lessened just by that change. The social component is important. Laughing with others can ease defensive reactions because it communicates safety and synchrony. Laughter shows how emotion can affect physical thresholds, but it is not a cure for disease. It demonstrates how context, meaning, and connection can modulate pain rather than it being fixed. The nervous system's boundaries can be momentarily altered by something as simple as laughing. This demonstrates how the brain's innate ability to soften experience through shared positive states is demonstrated. A soothing voice has the power to slow a baby's breathing and heartbeat. Infants' nervous systems are controlled by their carers. An external regulator can be a well-known voice with a consistent rhythm and pitch. Research on neonatal care indicates that calm speech or recorded parent voices can promote more consistent heartbeats and breathing patterns. The infant reacts to patterns that indicate safety but does not understand words. One nervous system guides another towards balance through a process known as repeatedly soothing the baby over time aids in the development of internal regulation abilities. As an adult, this wiring does not go away. The body can still be calmed by trusted voices, reduce stress reactions, and breathe more slowly. For this reason, in emotionally charged situations, tone frequently matters more than content, because sound itself has the power to influence physiology. Lullaby exists in all cultures. Voices become more than just a means of communication. It turns into a biological signal that aids in the body's adjustment. Through the vagus nerve, your gut and brain communicate throughout the day. Consider the vagus nerve to be a two-way conduit between your organs and brain. It transmits information, nausea, and fullness signals up to the brainstem. Additionally, it transmits commands that can either speed up or slow down digestion. Blood flow favors the gut, and digestion tends to go more smoothly when you feel safe. The brain has the ability to divert energy from the abdomen when you feel threatened. That change has the potential to suddenly tighten the stomach and suppress appetite. Researchers look at how vagus signals affect stress tolerance and mood. Slow breathing is used in certain treatments to encourage an increase in vagal activity. Others investigate electrical stimulation as a treatment for epilepsy and depression. The amazing thing is how this channel transforms bodily sensations into emotions. The inner state of your body is not quiet. Your mind is continuously being informed by it, because the gut contains its own neurons. Stomach butterflies are real. Digestion is locally coordinated by a dense network of nerve cells found in your intestines. This network is able to detect chemical changes in the gut as well as stretch and irritation. Additionally, he has unconscious control over the muscle waves that move food. Stress can cause those waves to stall, accelerate, or become erratic. Fear can therefore feel like fluttering, dropping, or twisting in the abdomen. These feelings aren't metaphorical. They are physical occurrences of movement and signaling. Additionally, the gut secretes chemicals that influence mood and sensation, such as serotonin. The gut reacts with unexpected sophistication. But that does not imply that it thinks. As a teaching shorthand, researchers refer to it as a second brain. The more profound lesson is that feelings have physical manifestations. Your gut's nerves frequently respond as if they heard it directly when your mind changes meaning. Childhood memories can be evoked by scent with surprising force and speed. A scene can be evoked more quickly by a scent than by a photograph. Smell signals reach parts of the brain that are directly related to memory and emotion. They adopt a straightforward approach that contributes to the explanation of the effect's suddenness. A kitchen, a classroom, or a certain wet street can all be revitalized with a single breath. Frequently, the memory comes with emotion rather than as a tidy tale. This is due to the fact that smell is stored in conjunction with body, state, mood, and context. This allows researchers to examine how memories are reconstructed rather than replayed. Additionally, smell can subtly alter behavior by altering comfort or appetite. It can give the impression that time is folded, with years blending into a single instant. Chefs and perfumers use this emotional shortcut on a daily basis. The striking aspect is how intimate it is. A whole chapter can be reopened by a molecule in the air touching a receptor. Breathing, pulse, and even movement timing can all be synchronized with music. The body is invited to follow rhythm, frequently without prior consent. In a short period of time, your breathing can synchronize with the tempo of a song. Adityanaji heart rate can change, particularly when there are consistent, predictable patterns. This phenomenon, known as entraînement, manifests itself in dance and marching. When timing seems erratic during rehabilitation, beats can direct steps. Emotion influences physiology, and music influences emotion as well. Thus, the effects compound one another. A quick tempo can improve posture and increase alertness. Longer exhalations and softer muscles can be achieved with a slow breathing pattern. Many people can simultaneously align their breathing through group singing. The brain uses rhythm as a framework for system-wide timing. A drummer can stabilize an entire room because of this. It is organization as well as art. Your body voluntarily moves inside the structure that sound creates. Because a steady rhythm directs motor circuits, it can lessen tremor. Timing issues in circuits that regulate smooth movement are frequently the cause of tremor. The nervous system can use a steady beat as an external clock. Commands may become more uniformly spaced when the brain locks onto that clock. When they follow rhythmic sound cues, some people walk more steadily. Uncertainty about when to start and stop is lessened by the beat. In movement rehabilitation programs, therapists employ rhythmic auditory stimulation. After a stroke, or when treating Parkinson's disease, it can aid in retraining gait timing. There is no magic behind the improvement. The synchronization between motor loops is improved. Simple tasks, like tapping to a metronome, can improve coordination. This reveals movement as prediction plus correction, which is why researchers adore it. The prediction is provided by a steady rhythm, which reduces the amount of correction the brain must make. The cue can be so tiny, which is a surprising aspect. Deep motor systems can be influenced by a simple pulse that seems unreachable. The brain modifies reality to align with its predictions of sensations. The world doesn't wait for your brain. It gets a draft of it ready. It forecasts your emotions based on your past experiences and the situation at hand. Fractions of a second are used to compare incoming signals to that draft. The brain fills in the details, and you sense continuity when the match is close. You are taken aback when the match is off, and the model changes. This clarifies why you can mispronounce lyrics until you grasp them. It also explains how taste, touch, and even pain can be altered by expectation. The brain uses attention as a spotlight to determine which signals are most important. In the end, what you focus on becomes more significant. Although this is strong, it can also be deceptive, creating false confidence and illusions. This reframes perception as construction and is known to scientists as predictive processing. Your experience is a best fit created in real time, but reality is still real. If you alter the prediction, the experience may also alter. When the brain rejects contradicting sensory narratives, motion sickness results. Your inner ear uses tiny sensors and fluid motion to report acceleration. Through the movement of the surroundings and visual cues, your eyes detect motion. Through the body's posture signals, your muscles and joints communicate pressure and balance. The brain finds it difficult to select a single, coherent story when those streams diverge. While the eyes may perceive a motionless cabin, the ears may experience rolling on the boat. While the ear feels turn, the eyes may be fixed on a book in a car. This discrepancy is interpreted by the brain as a severe warning indication. According to one theory, it's related to poisoning because toxins can cause confusing perception disruptions. Even in the absence of a toxin, the body reacts with nausea as a defensive mechanism. Motion sickness can therefore feel abrupt and overwhelming. It usually helps to look at the horizon because it makes the story make sense. The deeper point is that the nervous system is sensitive to coherence. The stomach is frequently the first to object when perceptions disagree. Perception is a best guess, not a camera. As optical illusions demonstrate, illusions are not visual errors. The brain has formed these habits. The brain quickly interprets distance, light, and shadow by using shortcuts. Usually, those shortcuts make it easier for you to get around and survive. An illusion is a unique configuration in which the shortcuts yield an incorrect response. Because the brain derives depth from context, straight lines may appear bent. The causte brain compares colors to nearby tones. Colors can appear differently. Because the brain anticipates movement from specific patterns, motion may appear to be present. Because illusions reveal the rules of perception, scientists study them. They resemble a window into the innermost presumptions of the brain. Because confidence does not equate to accuracy, illusions also teach humility. It is possible for your brain to feel certain and yet be incorrect. Everyday seeing becomes more enigmatic. Once you understand that raw reality is not being given to you, an interpretation is being given to you. That interpretation is quick, clever, and occasionally intentionally deceptive. Illusions demonstrate how the mind creates what the eyes perceive. When you feel in control, your skin may experience less pain. Control is interpreted by the nervous system as a signal for safety, and safety alters pain. The brain frequently lowers the threat value of a sensation when it can be predicted. The brain may lower the alarm even more if you can stop it. People are better able to tolerate the same stimulus in experiments when they choose it. Pain can be amplified by the brain to push you away when it feels forced. This is not a sign of weakness. Protective biology is operating as intended. Additionality control lessens helplessness, which in turn lessens the background chemistry of stress. Muscle guarding, which otherwise exacerbates discomfort, may be lessened in that calmer state. Clinicians make use of this by clearly outlining procedures and, when feasibly, providing options. Even minor decisions, like when to begin, can have an impact. How meaning enters. The pain system is an intriguing aspect. Skin nerves transmit signals, but the brain determines the level of urgency. The experience frequently shifts from matter to mind when agency tells the brain, "I can handle this." Control is not a catchphrase. It's a neural environment. Fear has the power to physically reduce your useful field of vision. Fear has the power to direct attention towards the perceived threat. Even with the eyes open, peripheral details become more difficult to perceive. In a matter of seconds, this can make the world seem smaller and more pressing. The importance of broad scanning decreases as the body gets ready for action. That focus can speed up your response in an actual emergency. It can backfire in today's stressful situations, such as meetings, crowds, or nervous thoughts. This effect is linked by researchers to arousal systems that alter the priorities of sensory processing. The gaze may become more difficult to change as eye movements become stickier. Later on, people might be surprised by what they overlooked right in front of them. Vision frequently feels wider again, like a room expanding when fear subsides. This is the tangible manifestation of mind over matter. Decisions are influenced by perception, which is altered by emotion. When options are limited, escape may seem like the only course of action. More options and attention may be available again. Innocent feelings can become urgent and dangerous when anxiety levels are high. The body becomes a surveillance zone where every sensation is examined for significance when the mind is anxious. Suddenly, a slight flutter, a warm face, or a shallow breath can seem significant and menacing. The sensation becomes stronger and more enduring when attention is focused on it. The stress response is then triggered as the brain looks for an explanation, frequently finding danger. There are additional sensations to keep an eye on as hormones increase. Muscles contract and breathing changes. This loop can develop rapidly because interpretation continues to feed physiology rather than because something is wrong. This is how many panic attacks start. A typical bodily signal is misinterpreted as an emergency. The cycle can be broken by realizing that danger does not always equate to urgency. Sensations frequently go away on their own, and the nervous system gradually relaxes when they are permitted without questioning. The amygdala can be calmed in quantifiable ways by giving a feeling a name. The brain's along center may remain active for longer than necessary when emotion surges without words. The amygdala responds quickly and widely, getting the body ready before an explanation is given. Labeling your feelings clearly activates language and regulation-related brain regions. These areas lessen the feeling of chaos by helping to organize the experience. Even when the emotion is still present, this small action can reduce amygdala activity. According to brain imaging studies, the sensation does not go away, but it does get easier to control and less overwhelming. Additionally, naming causes a brief pause, a moment of observation rather than response. The next course of events may be altered by that pause alone. Under guidance, children use this skill, and under stress, adults can the nervous system can receive a gentler response and a clearer map when raw sensation is transformed into information in a brief phrase. Performance under pressure can be enhanced by redefining stress as beneficial. An energy boost brought on by stress is intended to prime the body for a challenge. The brain prioritizes speed, heart rate increases, and attention becomes more focused. Performance frequently suffers when this reaction is deemed detrimental because worry takes precedence over concentration. The body's preparation can be utilized rather than resisted when the same feelings are interpreted as readiness. Despite having similar physiologies, research indicates that individuals who are trained to reframe stress frequently perform better in demanding situations. This shift is used by athletes, speakers, and performers who view nervousness as an indication that their bodies are awake and ready. Although the discomfort persists, its significance shifts. The brain uses meaning to determine whether to escalate or stabilize, so it must. The mind directs the body towards effectiveness rather than shut down by selecting a narrative that frames stress as support, transforming pressure into an asset. Tension and breathing patterns can be reset with a single, deep sigh. A physiological sigh consists of a long, slow exhale followed by 2 rapid inhalations. During shallow breathing, the lungs' tiny air spaces may collapse. This pattern helps to reopen them. The prolonged exhale reduces nervous system arousal by activating calming pathways. When the brain gets a signal that the situation is no longer urgent, muscles tend to relax. After experiencing stress, many people sigh spontaneously, as though their bodies are hitting a reset button. By purposefully using it, rising panic can be stopped before it gets out of control. Additionally, the breath stabilizes carbon dioxide levels, which can lessen lightheadedness or air hunger. This combination makes the sigh particularly useful when feeling overwhelmed. Because breathing has a direct connection to brainstem regulation, it operates without the need for belief or focus. The body's rhythm can be swiftly altered by a single, well-timed sigh, and the mind frequently calms down as the rhythm slows. Blushing is an unavoidable change in blood flow caused by the mind. When the face's blood vessels quickly enlarge in reaction to social emotion, blushing happens. Attention is frequently the trigger. As if being noticed turns into a tangible experience, sometimes in a matter of seconds. Heat rises in the neck, ears, or cheeks. Although people attempt to repress it, the reaction completely avoids conscious control. According to some researchers, blushing lets people know you're aware of social norms and that you've made a mistake. As a result, it is an uncommon emotion that is directly expressed on the skin. Sometimes the same flush can occur just by picturing an awkward situation. The striking thing is that the body is reacting to meaning instead of temperature. Real-time circulation changes reflect ideas about judgment, reputation, and belonging. Blushing serves as a reminder that social emotions are concrete. They change color, move blood, and make their presence known without consent. By causing tiny blood vessels to open, embarrassment can cause the face to get hot. Dense networks of tiny blood vessels that react swiftly to nerve impulses are found in the skin of the face. Autonomic commands enhance blood flow to the ears and cheeks during embarrassment. More blood comes to the surface quickly, which causes warmth to appear. This frequently occurs before you are able to fully identify your emotions. That speed demonstrates how social assessment turns into a bodily experience very quickly. While some people blush frequently, others don't. However, the fundamental mechanism is the same. Embarrassment can become more intense when it is concealed because attention is focused on the response. By expressing concern for social norms, blushing can promote understanding in group situations. A subtle vascular change turns into a message that can be seen. Physiology becomes communication, and emotion becomes physiology. Although embarrassment can be uncomfortable, it shows how quickly and deeply the body reacts to social meaning. The startle reflex demonstrates that action can be taken without conscious thought. Your body may jump at an unexpected sound before you realize what has happened. Fast brainstem pathways intended for instant protection carry this reaction. In a split second, muscles brace, shoulders lift, and eyes blink. Later, when the movement is already finished, conscious awareness appears and begins to ask questions. This demonstrates that action does not have to come afterthought. Because there used to be actual risk associated with hesitation, the reflex favors speed over accuracy. The system is designed to err on the side of caution, so even innocuous noises can cause it to activate. In anxious states, startle responses are more pronounced, demonstrating how context adjusts sensitivity. In order to comprehend fear and alertness, researchers examine this reflex. It serves as a clear reminder that a lot of behavior is controlled subconsciously. After the body has taken action, the thinking mind frequently recounts what happened. The intensity of your fear can be influenced by your heartbeat. The brain receives signals from each heartbeat regarding the internal condition of the body. These signals mix in with what you see and hear when you're feeling emotional. According to research, certain heartbeat phases may cause fear cues to feel more intense. The brain creates a single experience by fusing internal timing with external information. Even when nothing has changed on the outside, a racing heart can give the impression that danger is closer. This clarifies why caffeine, illness, or restless nights can cause anxiety to spike. Emotions frequently feel less acute and pressing when heart rhythms. Breathing techniques alter cardiac rhythm, which in turn affects fear. Interoception is the term for this internal sense, the internal perception of the body. Thoughts about the world are only one aspect of feelings. They are composed of both pulse and perception. Additionally, the pulse constantly adds to the narrative. When a person's pulse changes, they misinterpret their own feelings. When determining your emotions, the brain frequently looks to your body for cues. The mind may interpret an increase in heart rate as either excitement or fear. When people's pulses are elevated during experiments, they perceive situations as more intense. They don't intentionally make mistakes. Internal feedback is shaping their interpretation. This explains why, when the body is activated, anxiety can seem convincing. It also explains why emotional understanding can be made clearer by calming the body. Similar misreadings may occur following physical activity, fever, or heavy caffeine consumption. The mind provides a corresponding explanation as the body shifts first. Knowing that a fast pulse does not always indicate danger can help people feel less anxious. Sometimes it's just physiology working as it should. The emotional narrative frequently shifts as the pulse slows down. Neutral faces can appear more angry than they actually are when they are hungry. The brain becomes more alert to danger and annoyance when energy levels are low. This change may skew perception, giving neutral expressions an antagonistic or contemptuous appearance. It goes beyond mood. It's a shift in perspective. This is referred to by researchers as hunger also decreases patience, which speeds up the mind's preparation for conflict when internal states influence how the outside world is perceived. When the body is exhausted, even a quick look can become intimate. The same face can resume its normal appearance once nourishment arrives. This effect demonstrates how perception is flexible. The needs of the body at the moment determine this. Physiology and social reality change, frequently unconsciously. The lesson is humble and useful. Sometimes the world that seems hostile is actually a hungry brain that is in need of fuel. The world frequently softens when the body is fed. Lack of sleep weakens emotional brakes and increases pain signals. The body is frequently the first to notice the sharp edges of the world after a brief night. Once tolerable pain signals can become louder, more persistent, and more difficult to ignore. Sleep helps control the brain's natural pain-suppressing mechanisms and inflammatory pathways, so chemistry plays a role in this. Tired brains have less tolerance for discomfort and less capacity to reframe it, which contributes to emotional control that has the power to transform a minor stressor into a heavy burden and a minor ache into a larger experience. Adicionally, researchers discovered that sleep deprivation increases the stickiness of negative emotions, causing worry and frustration to persist for longer. Pain increases and coping decreases, creating a double-edged effect. The good news is that resilience can be restored by getting more sleep. Although a single, restful night does not completely erase everything, it can significantly alter how the same body feels the following day. Even when sleep is unaltered, placebo sleep can increase alertness. In certain experiments, participants report having a great night's sleep, even though measurements indicate a typical night. Surprisingly, a lot of people say they wake up the following morning feeling calmer, more alert, and sharper. As if belief unlocked a better version of the same brain, their performance can also improve. This effect demonstrates how expectations influence focus and effort. If you believe you are rested, you might stop looking for signs of exhaustion and begin to act capable, which would alter the course of the day. Self-monitoring's mental burden can be lessened by confidence, freeing up more mental space for concentration and memory. It does not imply that sleep is a choice. The body still requires serious recuperation. However, it demonstrates that the brain's narrative about signals is partially responsible for the feeling of fatigue. Behavior changes when that narrative does, and the brain may take its own course. It is a powerful illustration of mind over matter, where beliefs can alter how fully you access your existing energy, rather than creating it from nothing. Threats can be practiced in dreams, resulting in karma reactions in the real world. Although many dreams have a familiar emotional shape, they frequently appear strange, being pursued, arriving late, or misplacing something crucial. According to one theory in sleep science, dreaming allows the brain to simulate danger in a secure setting. It resembles a nightly simulator, where one can practice problem-solving in fear without facing actual repercussions. The brain reorganizes memory during specific sleep stages, combining lessons learned from the past with those from the present. You might be able to identify patterns and react more fluidly in real life thanks to that process. After sleeping, some people observe that their worries seem to have subtly been processed by their minds. The unpleasant aspect of this rehearsal can be nightmares, particularly following trauma when the brain keeps going back to the same alarm. Even so, over time, therapies that alter the dream narrative can lessen discomfort. The more profound mystery is that your brain might be rehearsing emotional responses in the dark while you lie motionless, preparing for tomorrow. Planned eye movements can be used by lucid dreamers to indicate awareness. The rare occasion when you become aware that you are dreaming while the dream is still going on is known as lucid dreaming. Without waking the dreamer, researchers discovered a cunning method to confirm it. The eyes can still move during some sleep stages, but the majority of the body's muscles are inhibited. Therefore, once lucid dreamers become aware, they all agree on a basic code, such as sweeping their eyes left and right in a particular pattern. These eye signals, which originate inside the dream, are clearly visible on recordings made in sleep labs. It is a magnificent link between two worlds, a sleeping brain purposefully communicating with scientists who are awake. This implies that the brain regions in charge of self-awareness may activate while you sleep. Lucid dreaming is used to practice vivid imagery, lessen recurrent nightmares, and explore creativity. Fantasy is not the key. It is proof that there are different levels and modes of consciousness. You can act and watch in your own nighttime theater for a brief period of time. Parts of the smell cortex can be activated by imagining a smell. You might notice your mouth reacting before you move if you close your eyes and visualize freshly brewed coffee. Many people are able to conjure up a fragrance so strongly that it seems almost real. According to research, some of the same brain regions involved in actual smelling may be activated when one imagines smells. Even though the signal is typically weaker than a real odor, it is still a significant echo. This contributes to the physical sensation of memory. Thought can reawaken the networks of sensory experiences stored in the brain. Chefs and perfumers frequently practice this skill by developing an internal library of scents that they can control with their minds. Because the body can begin preparing for a food just by imagining it, it also helps explain cravings. The intriguing thing is that perception is not just inbound. Using memory as a starting point, the brain can create sensory-like states internally. When you realize that, imagination starts to resemble controlled activation of actual neural pathways rather than pretending. Some people experience a slight dilation of their pupils when they visualize bright lights. Students typically react to actual light that narrows in brightness and widens in darkness. However, some research has shown that visualizing a bright scene can cause a slight pupil response, as though the brain is getting the eyes ready for what it anticipates. The slight alteration is significant because it implies that the body's automatic systems are impacted by mental imagery. Your brain simulates the effects of light in addition to describing it. This aligns with the more general notion that imagination is an internal perception derived from sensory memories and forecasts. While some people have weaker or no effects, others who have strong visual imagery frequently exhibit stronger effects. In any case, the phenomenon suggests a mind capable of influencing reflexive reactions. It also demonstrates how the body partially believes the scene, which is why visualization can feel intense. Your nervous system might react as though the brightness is nearly real when you visualize sunlight on snow or a bright phone screen in a dimly lit room. By using slow nasal breathing, athletes can reduce the cost of oxygen. Many athletes focus on improving their breathing efficiency in addition to their muscles. By adding resistance, nasal breathing can promote deeper, slower breaths and more stable carbon dioxide levels. With time, that can lessen the feeling of being out of breath during a particular workload, making the effort feel more long. Additionally, the nose warms and humidifies the air, which is beneficial in dry or cold weather. Some training methods force the athlete to maintain a steady pace by using nasal breathing to regulate intensity. A more relaxed rhythm that enhances endurance and recuperation in between bursts may be the outcome. This can alter how the body handles stress and fuel, but it is not a quick fix that can take the place of conditioning. According to the mind over matter perspective, physiology is shaped by technique. Athletes can push the nervous system towards more stable control by selecting and maintaining a breathing technique. Heart rate, concentration, and perceived exertion can all be affected by a slight alteration at the airway entrance. One way to improve tolerance to carbon dioxide buildup is through breath training. Not all carbon dioxide is waste. The urge to breathe is driven by this strong signal. When experiencing air hunger, many people believe they need more oxygen, but the discomfort is frequently caused by an increase in carbon dioxide. Over time, breath training can reduce the alarming nature of that signal. The brain is taught that increasing carbon dioxide levels can be safely tolerated through techniques like paced exhalations, controlled breath holds, and slow breathing. The urge to gasp may gradually diminish, and breathing becomes more fluid when under pressure. Breath training is used in singing, freediving, and some anxiety treatments for this reason. The interesting thing is that you are training interpretation rather than your lungs. Although the brain's alarm threshold may change, the body continues to monitor carbon dioxide because it lessens the fear that frequently accompanies breath sensations. That shift can be surprisingly empowering. You can remain calmer for longer and breathe more easily when the alarm is quieter. Carefully guided attention reduces the intensity of cold exposure. The initial reaction to being shocked by cold is to tense, gasp, and resist. However, over time, those who train in cold water frequently report a different experience. It was a change in their relationship to the sensation, not a change in the water. Instead of telling a tale of pain, one can focus on calm shoulders, steady breathing, or the limits of sensation. This modifies the emotional layer of cold, potentially altering its intensity. The brain stops intensifying the signal as quickly after realizing that cold is not always dangerous. A portion of this is perceptual training, while the remainder is physical adaptation. It's audible in the conversations of seasoned swimmers. After noticing the cold take calm down, and the body stops yelling. This is significant because distress intensifies feelings. Reducing distress also lowers the experience's volume. It is a striking illustration of how active attention is. It influences the internal sensations of the body. When you concentrate on a worthwhile objective, pain usually goes away more quickly. Although pain requires attention, it is possible to redirect it with intention. People frequently report that when they are working towards something that is important to them, discomfort in difficult circumstances becomes more bearable. A climber reaching a safe ledge, a parent raising a child, or a runner racing to the finish line. Strong signals do not stop the body from functioning. Value has the power to alter the experience, and the brain balances cost and value. Meaning can alter the intensity of pain and its dominance over awareness, but it cannot eliminate injury. This is one of the ways that motivation influences the results of rehabilitation. Over time, the nervous system may become less protective, and practice will be easier to maintain when a person links movement to a specific goal. Additionally, purpose lessens rumination, which is known to exacerbate suffering. Pain has less space to spread throughout the entire world when the mind is focused on a single objective. Meaning is not differentiation in mind over matter. It is a lever capable of altering perception. When treatment appears dramatic, the placebo effect may be more pronounced. An intense course of treatment may be a significant turning point in the brain's development. Expectations frequently increase when there is a machine, a process, a rigorous schedule, or a meticulous ritual. Increased expectations have the power to shift focus so that symptoms are no longer perceived as dangers. Pain may seem less urgent, and the body may relax its defensive posture. Because the ceremony seems more authentic, some research indicates that sham procedures can perform better than inert pills. This does not imply that the purpose is spectacle, and it should never be used to deceive. It implies that the nervous system reacts to effort and meaning. That meaning can be reinforced without exaggeration by a clear explanation, a confident plan, and a sense of care. The environment actually becomes a part of the treatment. The body gets ready to cooperate when the mind hears the drama. Expectations alone can alter results due to a doctor's confidence. Your nervous system usually calms down before anything else happens when someone you trust speaks with calm assurance. This calm can ease the stress response that exacerbates discomfort and lessen muscle guarding. What you anticipate feeling next is also influenced by your level of confidence. Expectation also directs focus. You look for danger if you anticipate things getting worse. You see progress and regain focus if you anticipate a clear plan. Warmth and clarity are frequently associated with better patient experiences, including less discomfort during procedures, according to research on clinical encounters. This effect has nothing to do with charm or acting as though things are easy. It has to do with safety signals. The way the body gets ready for what comes next can be altered by a soothing voice, a clear schedule, and a feeling of collaboration. Breathing, digestion, and pain sensitivity can all be altered by slight changes in fear. A true component of the biology of healing is trust. Even when you know open-label placebos can still be helpful. It seems unattainable at first. You are given a pill and informed that although it doesn't contain any active ingredients, some people still find it helpful. Learning is the key. Your body has been associating relief with treatment rituals for a lifetime. Opening a bottle, swallowing a pill, or adhering to a routine can all serve as cues that cause the nervous system to change. That cue might alter how symptoms are perceived and lessen alertness. Additionally, open-label placebo studies present the procedure as an experiment in which you are taking part, which can help you regain your sense of agency. Because helplessness can exacerbate suffering and exhaustion, agency is important. This does not solve every issue and should not be used in place of appropriate medical care. Nevertheless, it reveals something shocking. Even when the mind is aware of the explanation, the body can still react to patterns. Honesty does not always negate the effect of healing, which can be conditioned like a reflex. More than neutral language, words like sting can exacerbate pain. Words aid in the brain's ability to anticipate sensations before they occur. The nervous system gets ready for danger when someone warns that something will burn or sting. Breathing changes, muscles tense, and focus narrows on the affected area. The brain is already alert, so the same physical stimulus may feel more intense. Many people report feeling less distressed when clinicians use calmer language and precise timing. The goal here is not to conceal the truth. It is about staying away from words that make the forecast more dangerous than it needs to be. Meaning can be shaped by phrasing, and pain is partially an interpretation of meaning. When a frightening description instills fear in children prior to the shot, parents witness this. Accurate expectations and a sense of control are provided by effective communication. Words are not ornaments in mind over matter. They become a part of the experience to which the body responds. Without an irritant, the brain can produce itching through suggestion. Itch is there to keep you safe. Thus, the brain considers it urgent. Your skin may begin to prickle when you hear a detailed description of crawling insects or a rash that spreads. Even though nothing has touched you, you have a strong desire to scratch. The brain can be primed by a suggestion to look for a threat, and that search can produce sensation. The skin may become more sensitive once scratching begins. Strengthening the loop, this explains why itching may seem unrelenting under certain circumstances where it is maintained by anxiety and focus. Itching is studied by research because it demonstrates prediction in action. The brain would rather set off a false alarm than overlook a real annoyance. The good news is that karma interpretation and attention training can lessen the intensity. The feeling usually lessens as the threat story becomes less intense. The mind has the power to both cause and alleviate itching. Your own skin may itch when you watch someone else scratch. Itch has an oddly potent ability to spread. Even if your skin was fine just a moment ago, you may get itchy when you see someone scratch. Mirroring systems are used by the brain to mimic the actions of others. Furthermore, those simulations have the potential to become Additionally, a protective logic is at play. Your brain might get ready to eliminate the same threat if someone close to you reacts as though there is an irritant. It becomes stronger when you pay attention, particularly when you start examining a body part. For this reason, discussing lice or mosquitoes can cause a group to tremble. Even if the cause is not real, the feeling is, you don't think of it as a decision. Your antiquated prediction system occasionally overreacts. The intriguing aspect is that perception on its own can act as a trigger. What you see on the outside can influence how you feel on the inside. Mirrored body maps can cause nausea when one sees an injury. When they see blood or a needle, some people get lightheaded or ill. The response may come quickly, even before a conscious idea is formed. Maps of the body that aid in understanding movement and sensation are stored in the brain. These maps may activate as if danger is imminent when you witness an injury. This causes a vagal reaction in certain individuals, which lowers blood pressure and heart rate. Sweating, nausea, and a feeling of fading can result from that drop. Even though you are just watching, it is a protective reflex that would lessen blood loss if you were hurt. Because the brain mimics how the other person might feel, empathy could intensify the effect. It can be exacerbated by shock and smell, making the scene feel even more urgent. The response is trainable, which is good news. It can be gradually decreased by breathing control and gradual exposure. demonstrating that the pattern can be Touch is used in the rub it, better effect to block pain. Your hand frequently automatically goes to your elbow when you bump into it. There is a neurological basis for that instinct. Touch signals can compete with pain signals in the spinal cord because they travel fast. The experience can become softer as touch input increases because less pain information reaches the brain. This is one of the most basic types of pain modulation and is known as gating. Additionally, rubbing provides warmth and movement, which can ease stiffness and anxiety in the surrounding area. Fear is important because it can increase sensitivity to pain. When a reassuring hand alters their response in a matter of seconds, children exhibit this in a beautiful way. The same idea is evident in pressure-based therapies and massage. The relief is not fantasy, and the pain is real. Incoming information is being rebalanced by the nervous system. Your body has long since learned that sensation can be used to reshape sensation. Stress can change immune signaling, which can postpone the healing of wounds. Stress can cause schedule disruptions because healing is a coordinated effort. Hormones like cortisol alter the timing of inflammation and immune activity when stress levels are high. Stressed individuals frequently heal from minor, standardized wounds more slowly. According to studies, because sleep promotes immune balance and repair, sleep disruption can exacerbate the issue. Changes in appetite can also be significant because rebuilding necessitates nutrients and energy. When danger feels constant, the body may put immediate survival ahead of maintenance. In an emergency, that trade-off is helpful, but when stress persists, it becomes expensive. This isn't a moral failure. It's an overly long biological tactic. The positive aspect is that safety signals can enhance the healing environment. Restful sleep can help repair rhythms, and social support can lessen stress reactions. Here, mind over matter manifests as a quantifiable shift in the rate of recovery. The immune system modifies its effort in response to the nervous system. After some surgeries, optimism is associated with a better recovery. Although optimism is not magic, it can alter recovery by influencing both physiology and behavior. Individuals who anticipate improvement frequently participate in rehabilitation more actively. Instead of looking for disaster, they might notice progress, practice exercises more regularly, and move sooner. This change can lessen stress reactions that would otherwise disrupt appetite and sleep. Improved sleep and more consistent nutrition promote healing in a variety of systems. Additionally, optimism can lessen rumination, which subtly exacerbates pain and exhaustion, while the results vary depending on the condition and situation. Some studies associate optimism with better outcomes following specific procedures. The pattern makes sense because decisions are shaped by mindset, and the body's surroundings are shaped by decisions. An optimistic person may hold less tension and breathe more steadily, which can lessen guarding around a healing area. This is not an attempt to point the finger at anyone who faces difficulties. The goal is to add another lever to the situation. Action can influence recovery, and outlook can direct action. Strength, speed, and pain tolerance can all be momentarily increased by adrenaline. The body can enter an almost unbelievable mode in an actual emergency. The adrenal glands release a surge of adrenaline, which rushes through the bloodstream and instructs the heart to beat more forcefully and the airways to widen. Fuel is released quickly, and blood is diverted to the big muscles. However, since movement is more necessary for survival than comfort, pain may become less noticeable. This explains why, in an emergency, some people run on a sprained ankle or lift something much heavier than normal. The boost has a price and is only temporary. After the threat has passed, fatigue can strike like a wave. Hands may tremble, and digestion may stall. Nevertheless, it is incredible that a mere thought of fret can summon such a potent chemical ally. The mind is the key that unlocks the emergency reserves stored in your body. By altering salivary flow, stage fright can cause dry mouth. The body begins to make compromises as soon as you feel like you're being watched. Digestion is not a top priority, and saliva is a component of it. Stress signals cause the autonomic nervous system to change when the brain senses danger. As a result, the mouth gets sticky and dry. It could feel like the tongue is heavy. Speech may feel awkward and swallowing may become frequent. This is not a sign of weakness. Instead of evolving for microphones and conference rooms, it is a protective program designed for running and fighting. Adityology stage fright tightens the muscles in the throat, which can alter breath support and voice tone. Warming the voice, drinking water, and slowing the exhale before speaking are ways that many performers learn to cope with it. The dryness is even reinterpreted by some as an indication that the body is getting ready to act. The intriguing aspect is the speed at which social pressure turns into biology. Your salivary glands can be reached by a room full of eyes without coming into contact with you. Paced breathing is a technique you can learn to slow your pulse. The beating of your heart is not isolated. It uses reflex circuits to listen to your breath and change your heart rate in real time. The pulse usually quickens a little when you inhale. Exhaling usually slows it down. By prolonging the exhale and maintaining a constant rhythm, paced breathing capitalizes on that relationship. As the body adjusts to the slower tempo, many people eventually find that they can slightly lower their resting heart rate during practice and feel more at ease. Singers, shooters, and athletes who require stability under duress use this ability. Because it provides a straightforward control over arousal, it is also utilized in the treatment of anxiety. It is not necessary to start by forcing yourself to think calmly. The body reacts when you start by timing your breaths. The unexpected lesson is that rhythm can be used to teach self-control. If you give your pulse a regular pattern to follow, it can be guided like a pendulum. Some people use their attention to get goosebumps whenever they want. Postbumps are typically a reaction to intense or frigid emotions. The familiar rippled skin is produced when tiny muscles at the base of hair follicles contract, lifting the hairs. Most of us are powerless over it. However, a few people claim to do it on purpose. They talk about turning inward and calling forth the feeling in the scalp, arms, or back of the neck. Because it implies that attention can affect the autonomic nervous system, researchers have looked into this uncommon ability. The skill is made even more fascinating by the fact that goosebumps are also connected to emotional circuits. The individual is not merely flexing their muscles. They are exerting influence over a system that is intended to function without authorization. It serves as a reminder that the distinction between automatic and voluntary behavior is not as clear-cut as we might think. Some minds can flip a switch that most bodies keep locked with just a slight change in focus. By retraining inner ear integration, yoga can help with balance. The negotiation of senses is what balance is. Motion and orientation are reported by the inner ear. The muscles report joint position, and the eyes report the horizon. Yoga's single-leg poses, deliberate head movements, and gradual transitions test that system. The brain learns to integrate sensory inputs more effectively by practicing close to the edge of wobble. Many people become more stable over time, not just on the mat, but also when turning and walking. Another layer is added by breath control, which lessens abrupt body tension that throws off balance. Additionally, yoga strengthens the small stabilizing muscles in the hips, core, and feet, which provides a more stable platform for the brain. The intriguing thing is that strength isn't the only aspect of balance training. It has to do with recalibrating. Your position in space is updated by the nervous system. The brain is taught to trust and coordinate its senses through a seemingly idle practice. Tai Chi improves body awareness, which lowers the risk of falls. Although Tai Chi appears to be slow motion, it is extremely taxing on the nervous system. Weight is gradually transferred from foot to foot during the movements, necessitating frequent updates regarding center of mass and posture. Proprioception, or the sense of where your limbs are without looking, is improved by this training. Additionally, it improves ankle, knee, hip, and spine coordination, because the practice strengthens stabilizers and improves reaction timing when balance is challenged. Older adults frequently benefit. Additionally, Tai Chi teaches relaxed readiness. You learn to yield and adapt rather than stiffen, which lessens the abrupt jerks that result in stumbles. Numerous studies have found that practicing Tai Chi reduces the number of idiots, particularly when done regularly. The intriguing thing is that having stronger legs isn't the only way to prevent falls. It has to do with an improved map. The internal brain model of the body in space is improved by Tai Chi, and a more accurate model promotes safer movement. The brain's finger touch map can be altered with concentrated practice, The way each finger feels touched is part of the living map of your body that your brain keeps up to date. It's not a fixed map. The brain gives certain fingers more processing space when you use them for skilled tasks on a regular basis. Because of this, touch can eventually feel more precise with careful practice, because their brains learn that those signals matter. Musicians, surgeons, and craftspeople frequently develop exquisite fingertip awareness. According to experiments, training can enhance the ability to distinguish between close touches, much like a sensor's resolution. The brain is rearranging its wiring and attention according to your primary activities. Rehabilitation will be significantly impacted by this. The map may become hazy if a hand is injured and used less frequently. By providing the brain with regular input, practice can help it become sharper once more. It's amazing that feeling is partially earned. By altering the way your fingers are trained to interact with the world, you can alter how you perceive it. On the left-hand cortex, violinists develop larger finger maps. The left hand of a violinist makes quick, accurate finger placements that must land precisely. The brain adjusts to that demand through years of practice. Skilled string players have different representations of the left hand in the somatosensory cortex. According to studies that use sensory testing and brain imaging, the fingers that perform the best work are given more precise territory by the brain. This is not a generalization about skill. It is a physical alteration in representation associated with rigorous training. The effect provides an almost visual representation of neuroplasticity. The brain learns through repetition that these signals are critical to the skill's survival. Perception can improve, and the map gets bigger. Aditya, since developing brains may reshape more easily, it demonstrates why early training can be important. The violin transcends its role as an instrument. Practice writes itself into neural real estate, resulting in a lengthy dialogue between the fingertips and the cortex. The brain areas responsible for navigation memory are enlarged by London taxi training. Taxi drivers in London have to become familiar with a vast network of streets, landmarks, and routes. Building a flexible mental model of the city under pressure is part of the training. Differences in a hippocampal region linked to navigation and spatial memory have been observed in studies involving licensed drivers. It's a clear implication. The parts of the brain that support a learned skill can be shaped by intense learning. It has nothing to do with general intelligence. It has to do with persistent demands on a particular system. Linking locations, options, and sequences while constantly updating position is necessary for navigation. For years, taxi training has done that every day. In response, the brain modifies the apparatus that performs those calculations. It is among the most obvious instances of experience, leaving a structural mark in the modern era. The city turns into a palace of memories, constructed of habit and asphalt. The brain inside the body can be reshaped by an external environment with enough practice, transforming streets into neural pathways that seem almost instinctive. The brain's signal highways, or white matter, are altered by learning. The wiring known as white matter facilitates rapid and dependable communication between different parts of the brain. It is primarily composed of long-distance signal-carrying myelated nerve fibers. Learning a skill involves more than just your neurons firing in different ways. Additionally, the connections that coordinate those patterns can get better. Research on training has connected practice to alterations in white matter characteristics in specific tasks, indicating quicker or more effective communication. This makes it easier to understand how a skill can start out awkward before becoming fluid. The brain does more than just store data. The routes that provide the information at the appropriate moment are being improved. Timing across networks can be severely strained when learning a language, becoming an expert athlete, or practicing music. That timing is supported by white matter adaptation. The intriguing notion is that you can alter your own thought speed with practice. Repetition does more than just increase knowledge. It can improve the infrastructure that knowledge passes through, improving the brain's connectivity. Reward and cue, not just willpower, are what drive habit loops. A habit is frequently a small script that begins before you even notice the first line. Perhaps a buzzing phone, a particular chair, or a time of day that is familiar serves as a cue. The brain anticipates a reward and encourages you to take the action that typically results in it. Comfort, relief, stimulation, or just putting an end to boredom could be the reward. The loop becomes automatic as it gains efficiency over time. Because of this, you can reach for a snack without necessarily being hungry. According to research, altering the reward or the cue can break a habit more quickly than imposing restraint. The brain frequently gives up on the old routine if it still receives a satisfying reward. Habits feel more like learnt wiring as a result, rather than moral weakness. You can work with the loop once you see it, and the mind seems less enigmatic. The pathway of the old routine can be quieted by repeating the new one. It is not like erased chalk that old habits disappear. They fade, more akin to a trail that is abandoned. The brain gets stronger and depends on the newer path a little more each time you repeat a new routine. When the older route stops yielding results, it loses priority, even though it still exists. Because the brain gravitates towards what is most comfortable and quick, relapse can occur during stressful situations. During quiet times, consistency is a helpful tactic. People frequently expect change to feel dramatic because calm repetition creates a strong default, but it can actually feel boring, which is a good sign. The nervous system learns safety and efficiency through monotonous repetition. According to some therapists, the new routine should initially be simpler than the old one. Because there is less friction, the brain selects it without resistance. The new pathway starts to fire first, over a period of weeks. Change starts to resemble practice rather than a struggle. Follow-through is less important than motivation when it comes to implementation intentions. Motivation is a fluctuating emotion. A plan that remains in place is called an implementation intention. Rather than saying, "I'll work out more," you decide, "I'll walk for 20 minutes on Monday at 7. This eliminates decision fatigue at the critical point, which is why the brain loves it. Without any discussion, the cue initiates the action. These plans, according to researchers, enhance the completion of a variety of objectives, including studying and medication regimens. Adityanaji. The plan lessens the likelihood that stress will take over. Inspiration is not what you are depending on. You're following a script. This transforms future behavior into a mental scene that you can practice. It's easier to get started because it feels familiar when the time comes. The tiny shift is the intriguing aspect. Behavior can be more consistently guided by a straightforward structure than by unadulterated desire. Your posture can affect your confidence by allowing your muscles to provide feedback. Your posture affects more than just your appearance. Your brain receives this information about your current state. The nervous system frequently interprets a tall, open chest and free breathing as readiness. The brain interprets hunching and folding inward as a sign of defeat or danger. Eye contact, tone of voice, and even willingness to act can all be altered by that interpretation. Despite conflicting findings from studies on posture and emotion, many people continue to observe a useful impact in day-to-day living. Speaking clearly can be facilitated by maintaining a steady stance, particularly when under pressure. Rather than using confidence as a magic switch, the mechanism might involve breathing, tense muscles, and focus. By moving the body out of a protective curl, altering posture can also stop rumination. It is a tiny lever that has the power to alter the mood. The mind frequently accepts the message sent by the body. By using facial feedback signals, smiling can marginally improve mood. Your face is more than just an expression of your feelings. It may also be an input. The muscles surrounding the mouth and eyes communicate with the brain about what the body is doing when you smile. Particularly when stress levels are low, those signals can encourage emotional circuits to become more relaxed. According to some studies, smiling can lessen the intensity of unpleasant stimuli. Smaller effects are found by others, suggesting that context is crucial. Nevertheless, when they soften the face, many people notice a subtle change. Additionally, smiling can alter breathing patterns, which promotes calm. There is also a social component, because smiling makes people feel warm towards you, and that warmth can boost your mood. This does not imply that you should pretend to be happy when you are in pain. It indicates that the body's wiring is bidirectional. Experience can be shaped by expression. A slight facial movement may correspond to a slight mental movement. By providing the same feedback, a frown can intensify negative emotions, The brain gets a barrage of signals that correspond to effort and threat when the jaw sets and the brow tightens. Irritation or sadness can seem more plausible because of that physical state. During concentration, you may notice it when a tense face subtly transforms a challenge into frustration. Because shallow breathing is frequently accompanied by a clenched jaw, facial muscles can also affect breathing. Emotions can feel more acute when shallow breathing increases arousal. This explains why there can occasionally be an unexpected surge of relief when the face is relaxed. It's not that the issue goes away. It is that the body ceases to raise additional alarms. A furrowed brow can be an early warning sign. According to some therapists, early detection can stop a mood from getting out of control. Argument escalation is also explained by this feedback loop. Faces tighten, which tightens emotions, which tightens faces once more. One subtle way to break out of the loop is to soften your face. Holding your breath can slow your heart rate and cause the dive reflex. Seals and otters have an ancient reflex in common with humans. The dive reflex is a conservation mode that the body can enter when you hold your breath, especially if you have a cool face. The heart and brain receive more blood flow as the heart rate decreases. When breathing stops, this helps preserve oxygen. Although the reflex differs from person to person, it can be remarkably apparent even in everyday situations. It is trained by free divers to remain composed during extended. Related techniques are also used by clinicians to help slow some fast heartbeats. The body's ability to swiftly alter its priorities in response to a single choice is fascinating. The nervous system starts rationing when you stop breathing. Literally, this is mind over matter. A deep automatic program is activated by a conscious decision. It reminds you that you have survival circuitry in your body that can change your heart rhythm in a matter of seconds and is still accessible when needed. A racing pulse can be slowed by splashing cold water on the face. It can feel like you've hit a reset switch when you suddenly get a cold wash on your face. Reflex pathways that affect heart rate are connected to the skin surrounding the eyes, nose, and cheeks. Parts of the dive response can be triggered by cold stimulation, which can lower the sensation of runaway arousal and slow the pulse. When cool water provides quick relief during a panic attack or after vigorous exercise, people occasionally learn this. It's not just a diversion. Autonomic balance is altered by this physiological signal. For this reason, some anxiety techniques involve applying a cool pack or a quick splash of cold water to the face. The body takes the technique seriously, despite its simplicity. It also demonstrates the nervous system's capacity for specificity. More than many other areas, the temperature on the face can affect cardiovascular regulation. When you consider that specificity to be ancient biology, it can almost seem magical. The body alters its rhythm, while the mind selects the water. By pacing the brain's timing circuits, counting slowly can help steady speech. Speech frequently quickens when anxiety increases. Breathing becomes difficult as the words keep coming. The brain can synchronize with an external rhythm that is produced by counting slowly. It creates pauses that allow the breath to settle. Stumbling is lessened because those pauses allow the language system to prepare the subsequent phrase. A lot of public speaking coaches teach silent counting in between points or slow counting prior to a speech. As a result, the effect extends beyond performance. Physiology is altered. A slower pace lowers arousal and tells the nervous system that it is safe. Because you come across as more confident when you pace yourself calmly, it can also alter how listeners react. Slow speech practice can develop into a habit over time. Therefore, conscious counting is not necessary. The mechanical nature of it is what makes it so fascinating. The brain's timing circuits can be accessed by a basic number rhythm, which can restructure speech. Because the brain has a metronome, speech becomes more steady. Breathlessness can be alleviated and exhalation lengthened by singing. Breathing becomes a structured flow. When one sings, longer exhalations are necessary for melodies, and by slowing the breathing pattern, those exhalations can lessen air hunger. Adichiniji vibrations that are calming and grounding are sent to the body through the throat and chest. Singers and choirs frequently pick up effective breathing techniques without giving it much thought. This ability can be applied to everyday situations, particularly for those who have a tendency to breathe shallowly under pressure. Additionally, singing requires good posture and a steady jaw, which can ease upper chest tension. Additionally, there is an emotional component. Songs have the power to quickly change mood, and breathing is influenced by mood. Singing exercises are used in certain pulmonary rehabilitation programs to promote confidence and breathing control. It doesn't take the place of medical care. It is a tool that guides physiology through sound and rhythm. It's amazing that breath training can be combined with a human art form. Your lungs pick up a calmer pattern when you sing a phrase. Every day, the immune system pays attention to the stress hormones produced by the brain. Your immune system doesn't operate in a vacuum. The nervous system continuously provides them with chemical updates, including stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This can be helpful in brief bursts. It changes immune priorities and mobilizes energy, as though an injury might be imminent. The message alters the immune activity balance in ways that may be detrimental when stress persists. Inaccurate information signaling can cause the body to become less effective at healing. This two-way relationship is studied by researchers because it explains how stress can affect everything from susceptibility to recuperation. It also clarifies why peaceful routines can have a medicinal effect. Immune cells may receive different signals from sleep, consistent eating, and social safety. Although the mind does not directly control every immune decision, it does influence the context in which they are made. Your ideas turn into chemistry, which then turns into immune behavior. As though getting ready for an injury, loneliness can cause an increase in inflammatory markers. Loneliness is more than just an emotion. The brain may perceive it as a risk state, similar to being unprotected in a hazardous environment. The body may start to move towards increased baseline inflammation as a result. In certain studies, researchers have discovered connections between social isolation and inflammatory markers, indicating that the immune system may act as though wounds are more likely to occur. This makes sense in terms of help might be far away if you are by yourself. Thus, by maintaining defenses, the body gets ready for danger. The issue is that chronic loneliness in the modern world can be expensive. Energy, mood, pain sensitivity, and sleep quality can all be impacted. The trigger's ability to be undetectable is the most remarkable feature. While your immune system is behaving as though it anticipates problems, you may appear normal on the outside. The message can be reversed by the connection. The body's need for constant readiness can be lessened by signaling safety through a shared meal, a supportive conversation, or a sense of belonging. Practicing compassion can alter how the brain reacts to the suffering of others. Compassion is more than just a personality characteristic. It is trainable, much like a skill. People who engage in compassion-based practices practice compassionate attention and the desire to lessen suffering, beginning with themselves and gradually spreading outward. According to brain imaging research, people's reactions to other people's distress may alter. Some exhibit more controlled engagement and less overwhelm. This is important because unchecked empathy can lead to burnout. The warmth and stability that compassion brings enable you to remain in the moment without losing your bearings. People frequently say that suffering becomes less terrifying and more comprehensible. This has the power to alter behavior. You might be less inclined to shut down and more inclined to assist. A physical dimension is also present. Stress reactions that would otherwise cause the chest to tighten and the breath to shorten can be reduced by practicing compassion. The intriguing notion is that compassion may develop into a nervous system state. You're not trying to be nice. The brain adjusts to your training on how to deal with pain in a more composed manner. Studies have shown that keeping a gratitude journal can enhance the quality of sleep. Many people believe that the body alone controls sleep. However, the mind creates the conditions. By altering what the brain considers before bed, gratitude journals function. You practice observing what went well and what felt encouraging rather than rehashing threats and incomplete tasks. This change can lessen rumination, which frequently robs people of their sleep. Gratitude practices have been associated in some studies with improved sleep quality and fewer nighttime awakenings. The effect is not assured, and the results vary. The mechanism makes sense. Deeper sleep is supported by lower arousal, which is lowered by a calmer mind. The tone of emotions is also altered by gratitude. It can substitute safety for urgency, and a strong sleep signal is safety. Pretending that life is flawless is not the point here. The goal is to direct focus towards stability so that the nervous system can decompress. The body frequently responds by breathing more slowly, tensing up its muscles, and falling asleep more easily when the brain stops looking for threats. By relaxing attention loops, mindfulness can lessen rumination. The habit of the mind chewing on the same idea until it seems true is called rumination. A different relationship with thought is trained through mindfulness. You practice observing the story as an event that rises and falls, rather than blending in with it. Attention is changed by that slight change. Thoughts stop being tunnels you have to go through and become things you can observe. This can eventually weaken the hold of repetitive thought patterns, particularly at night or under pressure. More time between a trigger and a reaction is frequently described by people because it breaks automatic spirals. That space is important. Additionally, mindfulness can lessen anxiety-driven monitoring by teaching you to experience sensations without immediately interpreting them. Empty relaxation is not the practice. It is instruction on the flow of attention. Studies on the brains of long-term practitioners frequently reveal variations in networks related to self-focus and regulation. The greater wonder is straightforward. Even though individual outcomes differ, you can alter your thoughts and, consequently, your body's sensations by practicing where you focus your attention without altering the sound. Attention training can reduce the discomfort associated with tinnitus can be intolerable because it diverts focus. Even though the sound is constant, when the brain interprets it as a threat that needs to be resolved, anxiety increases. The goal of attention training is to alter that relationship. You practice deliberately turning your attention away from the sound and back again rather than fighting it. The brain learns that you have options. As a result, the sound may persist over time, but it loses its prominence. Instead of sounding an alarm, it becomes background noise. The brain learns to feel safe in the presence of sound through the use of structured exercises that combine relaxation and sound exposure. This does not mean that the sound has vanished. It is altering the interpretation that has been given to it. Stress reactions decrease when the sound is no longer interpreted as dangerous. The sound becomes less obtrusive, muscles relax, and sleep quality can improve. The intriguing thing is that intensity isn't always correlated with suffering. It frequently has to do with attention. Distress frequently decreases when attention becomes flexible, even if the signal persists. Suffering is more accurately predicted by pain catastrophizing than by injury size. Even though two people have similar injuries, their experiences of pain can differ greatly. Catastrophizing, a thought pattern that treats pain as evidence of danger and anticipates the worst, is one of the causes. This way of thinking heightens fear, which strengthens the nervous system's defenses. The brain becomes extremely sensitive to every sensation. Muscles tense and attention narrows. At that point, the pain becomes more severe and enduring. Additionally, catastrophizing robs people of hope, which lessens their desire to move on and heal. Because it predicts disability and distress across a wide range of conditions, clinicians keep an eye on it. It can be changed, which is good news. The brain can be taught that pain is not always harmful through graded movement, cognitive therapy, and education. The body often becomes less alarmed when the mind stops anticipating disaster. This does not imply that suffering is fictitious. It implies that it can be amplified by interpretation. The narrative you tell about pain has the power to become a part of the pain itself in mind over matter. After tissues heal, sensitization may cause chronic pain. Sometimes the pain persists even after the injury has healed. When the nervous system becomes sensitized, this may occur. Sensitization occurs when brain circuits and nerves react more strongly than they ought to, akin to an alarm that continues to sound even after the fire has been extinguished. Painful signals can feel larger than anticipated, and once harmless signals can begin to feel painful. Additionally, the brain may become defensive when it comes to movement, causing stiffness and protecting the dad's discomfort. For this reason, chronic pain can be frightening and perplexing. People look for damage that is no longer present. Researchers stress that chronic pain is not always an indication of an ongoing injury, but rather a condition affecting the nervous system. Treatment is altered by poor framing through education, movement, and gradual exposure to safe activities. The emphasis is shifted towards retraining sensitivity. Over time, the body rediscovers safety. The brain creates the perception of pain as a protective mechanism, which is amazing. The experience may continue if the protection system is stuck. The experience may become softer after retraining. Pain can be learned by the brain and then unlearned through retraining. Like any other learned circuit, pain pathways get stronger with repetition. When pain persists for weeks or months, the brain learns the pattern of fear, tension, and a tension that surrounds the sensation and becomes more adept at producing the experience quickly. This does not imply that the individual is choosing to endure pain. It indicates that it has been practiced by the nervous system. The good news is that learning can be reversed through gradual movement, increased body confidence, and a diminished perception of threat. Retraining techniques teach safety. The brain learns to stop overreacting, and people learn to differentiate between danger and sensation. In order for the body to gather fresh evidence, some programs employ gradual exposure to feared activities. Others concentrate on altering how the brain anticipates pain while performing routine tasks. Because the old route is well known and effective, progress may initially seem sluggish. However, many people say that as time passes, flare-ups become less frightening and less common. This is a profound story about mind over matter. Since the brain is malleable, pain can be partially learned. The brain can learn a new response with time by repeatedly teaching safety. Exposure therapy rewires fear. Fear picks things up fast. A situation can be marked with danger by a single negative experience. Exposure therapy carefully and methodically makes use of the brain's capacity for learning. You remain safe while taking baby steps towards the feared cue. And the new lesson is safety. After several sessions, the brain begins to predict survivability instead of catastrophe. This isn't making someone feel terrified. The nervous system is kept within a manageable range by gradual training. The intention is not to permanently eradicate fear. Reducing false alarms is the aim in order to increase life. There is a lot of evidence to support the use of exposure for phobias, panic attacks, and triggers associated with trauma. What it demonstrates about the brain is the intriguing part. Fear is a prediction as well as an emotion. The body reacts differently when the prediction is updated. The mind regains options, avoidance becomes less rigid, and heart rate spikes less. Just as repetition used to teach fear, it now teaches safety. Instead of using magic, the runner's high combines endorphins and for decades, the runner's high was described as enigmatic or legendary. Neuroscience now provides a more accurate picture. Endorphins, which lessen pain perception, and which can pass through the blood-brain barrier and directly affect mood, are released during prolonged exercise. Together, these substances produce feelings of clarity, serenity, and even mild euphoria. This is not a frantic state, like adrenaline, often referred to as effortless motion or mental quiet. It is warm and steady. For this reason, rather than at the beginning of a workout, the effect usually manifests after a certain amount of time. The brain rewards perseverance in response to prolonged effort. Not everyone has the same experience, and consistency is more important than intensity. The intriguing aspect is that human biology is predisposed to this positive state. Chemistry intended to make endurance feel rewarding rather than punishing is unlocked by movement. By increasing brain-derived growth signals, exercise can improve mood. Exercise does more than just burn calories. The brain receives growth signals from it. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which promotes neuron health and communication, is one of the most researched. Brain cells become more resilient and adaptive when this signal increases. Numerous researchers associate this process with enhancements in mood, concentration, and ability to handle stress. It clarifies why some people's symptoms of anxiety and depression can be lessened by regular movement. Although not everyone will experience the change immediately, the trend is powerful enough to affect treatment recommendations. Additionally, exercise increases blood flow to the brain, which facilitates the more effective delivery of nutrients and oxygen. When combined, these modifications produce a neural environment that is more adaptable. After stress, emotions may heal faster and thoughts may feel less trapped. The brain's growth landscape can be altered by physical movement, which is amazing. When motion signals the need for adaptation, the brain reacts by becoming more flexible. Rumination and quiet, stress-related brain activity are decreased by nature walks. A stroll down a busy street may not feel the same as one through open spaces or trees. Studies on brain imaging point to a plausible explanation. Reduced activity in brain regions related to repetitive self-focused thought is linked to time spent in natural environments. By replaying concerns without finding a solution, rumination frequently prolongs stress. That loop seems to be broken by nature. Altogrich, the sensory environment, is not taxing. Gentle movements of the leaves, changes in light, and sounds provide attention with something to rest on without exerting much effort. This can ease emotional tension and reduce mental noise, particularly when phones are stored. Even brief exposures can have an impact. Since the pace can be slow, the benefits extend beyond exercise alone. It has to do with context. Because the brain developed in natural settings, those cues might indicate availability and safety rather than urgency. Simply taking a stroll outside can alter the way ideas flow, transforming repetition into release. Serotonin pathways can be altered by sunlight, which increases alertness during the day. One of the most powerful cues the brain gets about time is morning light. Sunlight affects serotonin activity in the eyes, which promotes wakefulness, mood, and concentration. The internal clock that regulates the timing of sleep later that night is also set by this signal. Lack of daylight can cause mood swings and a lag in alertness, particularly in the early hours of the day. This explains why many people find that gloomy winters feel heavier. In those situations, light therapy may be used to promote emotional and energy balance. Staring at the sun is not necessary to achieve the effect. Being outside or close to a bright window can be beneficial. Additionally, sunlight enhances color and contrast perception, which keeps the brain active. The process feels indirect, which is an intriguing detail. You are not making the decision to be awake. When light enters the system, timing and chemistry are subtly adjusted. The brain uses daylight as a guide to stay in sync with the outside world. Because warm baths alter body temperature rhythms, they can induce drowsiness. Body temperature and sleep are closely related. Naturally, the core temperature starts to decrease as bedtime draws near. This process can be unexpectedly aided by a warm bath. Warmth dissipates after you leave the bath because the heat opens blood vessels close to the skin. The brain gets a signal that night has arrived as heat escapes, causing the core temperature to drop more rapidly. Within an hour. This may cause a wave of drowsiness. Additionally, warm water promotes rest by calming muscles and reducing respiration. Without understanding the physiology underlying it, many cultures have long practiced bathing rituals before bed. When the bath is taken early enough to allow the body to cool, the effect is most effective. The timing is what makes it so beautiful. Warmth promotes cooling, which in turn promotes sleep. A basic sensory experience corresponds with a profound biological rhythm. By providing the brain with a predictable structure, rituals lessen anxiety. Uncertainty feeds anxiety. By establishing dependable patterns, rituals combat that. The brain expends less energy anticipating what will happen next when actions follow a familiar pattern. This can boost one's sense of control and reduce background stress. Rituals can take many different forms, such as pre-game routines or bedtime routines. The consistency of the actions is more important than their specifics. The sequence itself eventually becomes soothing. The brain picks up on the fact that this pattern results in completion or safety. Making tea the same way every night is one example of a small ritual that can have a big impact. Rituals anchor attention and lessen decision overload during stressful times. Additionally, they help the mind shift states by marking transitions. The intriguing thing is that rituals continue to function even when we are aware of their symbolic meaning. Structure has an effect on the nervous system at a level lower than belief. Comfort turns into predictability, and comfort lowers anxiety. Superstitions can improve performance by making people feel more in control. Although superstitions frequently appear illogical from the outside, there is a reason why they endure. When faced with uncertainty, Having faith that a particular action will bring luck can help one feel more in control. It's important to feel in control. It frees up mental energy for the current task and lessens anxiety. According to studies, people occasionally perform better when they think a lucky charm is working in their favor. The charm alters perspective but does not alter physics. Effort becomes more fluid, confidence increases, and hesitation decreases. These behaviors are well known among athletes, but they also manifest in daily tasks. The way superstition affects emotion and attention is more important than the superstition itself. The brain stops looking for failure when it feels supported. The intriguing reality is that belief can serve as a performance aid by changing your level of engagement with reality, rather than changing reality itself. Choking under pressure can be lessened with a relaxed mental script. When under stress, the mind frequently becomes inwardly focused and overanalyzes actions that are typically automatic. Choking may result from this disruption of timing and coordination. An alternate focus is provided by a serene mental script. The script directs attention to basic cues like rhythm or intention, rather than outcome or mechanics. This prevents trained skills from being interfered with by conscious thought. In order to feel comfortable under pressure, speakers, musicians, and athletes frequently practice these scripts beforehand. When anxiety increases, the script serves as a guide for the mind to follow. Additionally, breathing frequently slows, which helps to stabilize the body. Distraction is not the script's power, it's guidance. While not entangled, attention remains focused. The intriguing aspect is that a few carefully chosen words can prevent the collapse of complex motor skills. Instead of fear, language becomes a stabilizing tool that keeps performance in line with practice. Sometimes, when athletes are confident, they see the goal more clearly. Perception can be subtly changed by confidence. According to certain studies, athletes who are performing well say that baseballs seem easier to track. Golf holes appear wider, and targets appear larger or closer. The eyes do not change as a result. It implies that depending on one's emotional state, the brain interprets visual data differently. When self-confidence is high, perception may feel more generous and clear, and attention is less clouded by uncertainty. When confidence wanes, this can help with timing and decision-making. It is possible for the opposite to occur. Margins feel tighter, and targets seem smaller. The effect demonstrates how preparedness and expectation influence perception. A camera feed is not all that vision is. It is a creation shaped by memory and emotion. The intriguing realization is that belief influences more than just effort. What the world appears to offer may be impacted. Before a single action is taken, confidence can make an opportunity seem bigger. Because anxiety causes attention spikes, time may seem to move more slowly. Seconds can feel heavy and stretched during times of anxiety. This occurs as a result of intense focus on the here and now, particularly on possible threats. Time seems to slow down as more data is processed per second. A denser memory of the interval is being formed by the brain's intense environmental sampling. Longer duration is later understood to be the result of that density. In situations where quick assessment is crucial, this effect may be helpful. Anxiety in daily life can be unpleasant and draining. The discomfort seems to go on forever, and waiting gets more difficult. It is not an imagined experience. It shows how the brain keeps track of things. Time frequently seems to pick up speed once anxiety subsides and focus expands. The fact that time perception is malleable is an intriguing detail. Emotional states cause it to bend. Sometimes, people can lessen the feeling of drawn-out moments by using breathing exercises or grounding to calm their attention. The clock remains unchanged. Experience doesn't. To protect the body, the brain can inhibit movement while you sleep. Your brain becomes extremely active while you sleep, particularly when you have vivid dreams. Emotions rise as stories develop, and imagined movement can seem real. However, your body remains motionless most of the time. This is because the brain actively attenuates signals that are transmitted to the muscles, resulting in a protective rather than frightening state known as sleep paralysis. Without it, people would act out their dreams in real life, sometimes with disastrous results. Sleepers may occasionally kick, punch, or jump out of bed while dreaming if this system malfunctions. The amazing thing is that paralysis is not a passive state. The spinal cord receives this active command from the brainstem. Even if you are not dreaming, your brain is aware of it and prioritizes safety over expression. Every night, awareness and self-control cooperate silently to let the imagination run wild while the body remains secure. Parkinson's disease demonstrates how chemistry can change both motion and willpower. Parkinson's disease highlights the close connection between motivation and movement. Changes in dopamine, a neurotransmitter frequently linked to reward and desire, are indicative of the condition. People don't just have trouble moving smoothly when their dopamine levels decline. They might also find it difficult to move at all. Once effortless tasks may now seem difficult or unachievable. This isn't a lack of will or laziness. The way that intention turns into action is being reshaped by chemistry. A phenomenon known as paradoxical movement occurs when some Parkinson's patients suddenly move fluidly during emergencies or when they are emotionally aroused. This demonstrates that, while capability remains, access to it has changed. The illness shows that biology and willpower are intertwined. Motion and motivation follow similar routes. The sense of choice can change along with chemistry, reminding us that effort is not just mental. Body ownership is negotiable. As demonstrated by the rubber hand illusion, a person's real hand is hidden and a fake hand is placed in front of them in a traditional experiment. The fake hand and the real hand are stroked simultaneously. Many people start to feel as though the rubber hand is their own after a short while. They might flinch if the phony hand feels threatened. This illusion demonstrates the fluidity of body ownership. The brain uses a combination of sight, touch, and timing to determine what is yours. The brain recognizes the object as a component of the self when those signals coincide. Normally, this process operates perfectly, but the illusion shows how adaptable it really is. Your perception of me is not constant. It is a construct. Evidence from the senses can cause the self's boundaries to change. In reality, the brain constantly negotiates what feels incredibly permanent and personal. Be capturing. Attention, virtual reality can lessen burn pain. Due to its intensity and persistence, severe burn pain is challenging to treat. Surprisingly, virtual reality has proven to be an ally. Many patients report a significant reduction in pain when undergoing painful procedures in immersive digital worlds. Navigating icy terrain or playful settings diverts the brain's attention, making it harder to process pain signals. This isn't just a diversion. According to brain imaging, when the brain is completely focused on something else, attention and emotion circuits are actually redirected, making pain pathways silent. The impact is so great that some medical facilities combine virtual reality with prescription drugs. This demonstrates the potential for competitive perception. Signals from damaged tissue are not the only source of pain. It also has to do with the priorities of the brain. Suffering can lessen when it is sufficiently focused. Technology turns into a means of refocusing consciousness. When performing endurance exercises or prolonged, taxing efforts, purposeful focus can reduce perceived effort. In addition to being muscular, fatigue is also interpretive. The brain continuously assesses whether the effort is worthwhile. That assessment may alter in the presence of a clear goal. When an athlete's effort is linked to a purpose, like finishing for a teammate or hitting a personal goal, they frequently say that the effort feels lighter. According to research, purpose can change the way effort signals are interpreted, lowering perceived stress while maintaining the same level of physical workload. The experience is different, even though the body is performing the same task. The brain has a reason to put up with discomfort without raising the alarm when there is a purpose. This changes how close those limits feel, but it doesn't eliminate them. Sensation and suffering are separated by meaning. The body frequently follows with more resilience when the mind understands why it is enduring. Through shared breathing, choir singing synchronizes people's heartbeats. There's something subtle and amazing that happens when people sing together. Their breathing starts to synchronize. Heart rates can also start to synchronize because breathing affects heart rhythm. Choir studies reveal that this common physiological rhythm develops over time. The group develops into a biologically and musically cohesive system. The sense of calm and connection that many singers express could be attributed to this synchronization. It goes beyond simple emotional ties. Physical alignment is what it is. Stress is decreased when there is less uncertainty due to a shared rhythm. The body feels safe and cooperative. This could account for the prevalence of group singing throughout history. It connects groups more deeply than words can. Bodies move in unison, breath by breath, and hearts silently synchronize. Chanting in groups can reduce stress because it produces recognizable sound patterns. The brain can readily anticipate the basic, repetitive sound structures produced by chanting. Because uncertainty is a major source of stress, predictability is important. Breathing frequently slows and becomes more regular as voices repeat the same pattern. In response, the nervous system lowers arousal. Chanting restricts internal communication as well. When awareness is filled with sound, the mind has less space to stray into worry. Chanting adds another level in groups. The body is further calmed by the social safety that shared timing fosters. Stress markers can decrease noticeably when rhythm, repetition, and connection are combined. Around the world, chanting is used in therapeutic, cultural, and spiritual contexts. Its tenacity indicates that it influences brain rhythms directly rather than just through belief. The body follows the mind as it becomes comfortable with the sound. Your face and heart can be softened by a single thought of compassion. Compassion is not a concept. Your body frequently reacts instantly when you think of someone who is kind or caring. The jaw relaxes, the eyes soften, and the facial muscles relax. Breathing may become deeper, and heart rate may slightly slow. Compassion triggers relaxing pathways associated with social safety, which causes these alterations. Caring thoughts are interpreted by the nervous system as indicators of low threat, even when the compassion is focused inward. This can still occur. Similar physiological changes can result from self-directed kindness. Calm states may become easier to access over time if compassionate thoughts are repeated. This demonstrates that emotion is more than just feelings. It's a physical manifestation. Posture, expression, and rhythm can all be altered by a single thought. In addition to being a moral quality, compassion becomes a physical state. By becoming aware of your feelings, you can prevent panic attacks. When sensations are misconstrued as danger, panic frequently intensifies. A pounding heart is interpreted as disaster. Tightness turns into evidence of danger. This process is disrupted when one learns to observe feelings without passing judgment. Rather than responding, you watch. Sensation and meaning are separated as a result. Interoceptive awareness-based therapies enable patients to perceive body signals as information rather than alerts. Sensations frequently become less intense when they are permitted to fluctuate. The nervous system gains the ability to tolerate discomfort. The brain gradually modifies its predictions and ceases rapidly increasing. Feedback loops are essential to panic. These loops are broken by awareness. Suppression is not the skill. Curiosity is the reason. You can demonstrate to the brain that there is still safety by remaining with sensation. Panic cannot develop unless it is fueled by fear. Measurable brain changes can result from small daily mindset adjustments. Repetition, not revelation, is how the brain changes. Daily practice of minor adjustments can add up to significant structural and functional change. This is the neuroplasticity principle. You develop new neural pathways when you practice attention control, reframe stress, or react to discomfort in different ways. These routes become more accessible with time. Studies on brain imaging reveal alterations associated with regular mental training. Even with short daily routines, the impact is gradual and frequently initially imperceptible. It is therefore simple to underestimate. However, by making minor adjustments for weeks or months, the brain's default response can be altered. More important than intensity is the compound effect. Dramatic effort applied infrequently can be outperformed by a gentle practice repeated frequently. It takes time for the mind to change. It is subtly shaped by your daily activities. You can practically sense the theme taking shape as we near the conclusion of our journey through mind over matter. We have repeatedly observed that your experience is influenced by your internal interpretations, expectations, and rhythms, in addition to the external environment. Pain can be lessened by faith. Perception can be limited by fear. Your pulse can change with just one breath. By giving life a sense of predictability, Even a basic ritual can help to relax the brain. From the gut's silent cues to the brain's ability to transform sensation into something you can live inside, we explored the body's hidden dialogues. Virtual worlds can alleviate actual pain by capturing your attention. And we explore the strange flexibility of the self, where a rubber hand can feel like yours. We pay attention to the chemistry of movement, where purpose can lighten effort and endurance releases relief. We even ventured into common human rhythms, where chanting and singing can synchronize bodies as if the group were a single, continuous breath. You no longer need to grasp any of it firmly. Allow it to flow through you like a serene stream. Drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw as you settle into whatever is supporting you. Feel the gradual work of gravity. If ideas come to you, allow them to go by like silent footsteps in a hallway noticed, then forgotten. If you liked this exploration, you might enjoy the next video that's waiting for you if you're still awake. To help more drowsy minds find their way here, feel free to like, subscribe, or leave a kind comment. Good night, and rest well.